Welcome back, everybody. Today, I have a special guest that I want to bring on, my dear friend Ilaria, all the way from Rome, but actually currently right now, she is living in Virginia, near Virginia Beach. And so we've been friends for a while, and I wanted to bring her on and get her interesting and insightful perspectives of United States, coming from an Italian citizen who has been back and forth the last 5 years and who understands both cultures very well. So I'll leave it to you, Ilaria, to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Ilaria. I'm Italian. I was born and grew up my entire life in Rome. And I came to America in 2019 to be an au pair, that is a foreign nanny. And I used to live in Washington State, and that's where I met Grayson. We became really good friends. Right now I live in Virginia because my husband is American and he's in the US Navy and we're stationed here. And yeah, I've been living in America for 5 years and that's pretty much it.
Okay, because you're big on social media and TikTok. What was inspiration behind creating your page and wanting to share your experience as an au pair? I feel like you were one of the first au pairs from Italy that started kind of documenting her experience, and it seems like a lot of people resonated with that. So what kind of inspired that?
Yeah, I started doing TikTok when TikTok was not a thing yet. It was 2019. And, when everyone used to make fun of me, it was like, oh yeah, you're making TikTok. So and yeah, I started making videos talking about my experience, how I started, what au pair company I picked and how everything started. And after that, I met my husband, and then, from being an au pair, I started talking about the differences between dating Americans, dating Italians, and then, the different cultures. And yeah, I don't know, people liked it, and I just
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. I feel like you've built a really good following through it, and it was also maybe a way to kind of document your story and your journey in a way that was fun. And I think you added a lot of value with that. So that's why I brought her on today, because she has a very unique perspective. So
yeah, no, I feel like it's really interesting. As an Italian living in America, and you as an American, but you know the Italian culture. You're really fascinated by it, and you travel a lot. You went to Italy, so sometimes it's really hard for me with my husband, because my husband being an American, but before meeting me, being in the military, yes, he traveled a lot for work, when he was on deployment, but he's never been to Europe, he's never been to Italy. And so sometimes it's really hard, for him to understand. Now it's better because, we went to Italy a lot of times. He met my family. He knows how Italians are now. But at the beginning, it was really hard because, the culture shock, how different we are.
The cultural,
and you know better than anyone else,
maybe from American perspective, I put a lot of time and energy and effort into the culture and the language. So yeah. So that's why I'll come in with kind of me. I think people from my page know a little bit about me, but I have my social media channels right now where I'm really promoting Italian culture, language, trying to be like an ambassador for the Italian culture abroad as an American. Based off my experiences, I've been very passionate about the Italian culture since I've been a little boy, inspired by my grandfather and his parents. So I was also very close to my great-grandmother. And through them, I had this big passion. But growing up, I obviously never went to Italy. And I didn't really understand it, but I had this deep burning desire to understand part of my heritage a bit more. And so when I went to study at university, I had a Italian, Giuseppe Tassone was a big impact on me, and he inspired me to study at the university Italian a bit outside of my marketing and communication degree. And so in 2019, right around the time, probably I went to Italy as well in 2018, but we met maybe in 2019. And then in 2019, I decided to study abroad in Italy. and in Rome, which now is the second, like my other home. It's the other city I'm most comfortable.
Yeah.
And so I studied abroad there. And after getting more deeply immersed in the actual authentic culture, I was able to really, that passion grew much more. So through that experience, going back and forth for a month at a time every year, the last 6-7 years, and understand the culture, meeting incredible people like yourself, and just understanding in a lot more of a genuine way. Italy in a modern context has really made me passionate about wanting to spread this mission. I'm also a luxury travel consultant, so I help people be able to see Italy in a way that is comfortable for them, but also with a local heart and a way where they can not only travel there for the La Dolce Vita and everything, but then also be able to interact with the language, the culture in a way that gives them an authentic experience. So that's kind of why I've been doing what I'm doing. But yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah. And I think, like you're the perfect, example, like people like, like they can trust you, you know what you're doing. I mean, I know you.
Exactly.
Last time we met, it was in Rome. And then we met, it is like last time was like 2020, well, maybe 2020. And after that, nothing.
2021, I can't remember.
Yeah, something like that. And then we met in Rome like last time.
Yeah, finally for the first time in Rome. So
it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yes, we decided to answer some questions from my Italian followers and your American followers.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really interesting, like seeing the different point of views and,
Definitely.
talking about it.
Couldn't agree more. So let's get into it. The first thing I think we wanted to cover that was interesting to you all was that Ilaria has touched on in a lot of her other, she has an awesome podcast and she posts amazing content, but she has touched on it a good amount, is the pros and cons of living in the United States versus Italy. She knows better than most people, much better than me as well. These pros and cons about also living in other parts of the United States. So do you want to start with the pros or cons? What is
So let's start saying that I lived my entire life in Italy, like I moved here when I was, and I didn't really move here because, I did that experience as an au pair in 2019. But I lived my entire life in Italy, like school, everything, like lifestyle, I'm Italian 100%. It's not like, like those Americans that are like, they live the entire life in America and their great grandparents were Italians. So they, like they're like, yes, I'm Italian, but they never, like lived in Italy,
or speak the language, or it's a big part of it.
Yeah. Well, I can start with the pros. Living in Italy is just like so different from America. And, I've actually been living in America as a permanent resident for like, let's say like 3 years, because I was like, after, being an au pair and having like a long distance relationship with my husband. I was, back and forth, America, Italy. So it was kind of like tricky. But, like living here and actually, like, I mean, I work with social media, but, still like I pay taxes, like I go to the grocery store, I have, I deal with, like, like life. So me, like my example is a little different because I come from a big city, Rome is the capital of Italy, and I live really downtown. So that's, like same like if you live in New York, like you walk everywhere. So that's something that I love about Italy, like you're like in your apartment and you get out and it's like, oh yeah, I need to buy something at the grocery store, and you walk like 3 minutes and you're at the grocery store. In America, like in particular where I live, like you have to use the car.
You have
like
to.
no matter what, like you cannot walk to the grocery store because first of all it's like 15 minutes away, and second of all sometimes like there's like sidewalks. And you're walking on the sidewalk, and at one point the sidewalk like disappears, and you're like, wait, I was like just
I know
walking
they're
here.
not designed for the society's designed for cars, not for walking.
Right.
Yeah,
And at the beginning, I was so confused because I'm like, yeah, I want to go for a walk. That's like an Italian thing. Right. Yeah. Like in particular, like on a weekend, like we love to like go out and have aperitivo and then walk around, the streets of Rome. And that is beautiful. You go downtown. So I was like, yeah, let's go. And, at the beginning, when I was dating my husband, he was like, you want to go for a walk? I was
it,
like, yeah, what's
it's
wrong with that?
it's crazy because all my friends here too, they like don't understand. Like I didn't understand either, and then after I like stayed in Italy for 6 months to study, I like just become like obsessed, especially in being in Rome because the city has the different piazzas and different fountains where you congregate,
Yeah,
and so it's all made for walking. And so like now, if I'm not busy or I'll just go for a walk on like it just makes me feel good and. I
I
just
know,
feel
right?
like it's like you go there and you like the takes you over. Like you feel like, oh my gosh, what is this like concept? Like I want to go on a walk now.
I know. And like the funny part is people here look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah.
Like when you walk and you're the only one on the sidewalk, because when we were like still dating, going through the process of my green card, I didn't have a car when we were in Washington State. And my husband was stationed in a cardboard that is like a really small town in, like close to Cookville, like those
Yeah.
small,
More by the islands instead of like I live in
yeah,
Bothell
you
area,
live in Seattle.
suburbs closer to the city.
Yeah, yeah. And like I had to walk because my husband was going to work and I couldn't like stay home. I needed to do something. So I would just like walk for like half an hour. Literally no one was around, like cars looking at me like, what is she doing? Like,
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean that's one of the things that I really miss about Italy. Um Second of all, I mean, probably we can agree in this: food. It's just it's
I
been
you become
it's
different.
been I've been living for a while now, and it's been a struggle. I'm telling you, it's just like as an Italian, you cannot get over that. Like you can't.
You guys eat better than anybody in the world, and also like just I try to explain to people it's not like carbonara, pizza margherita, like it's not like the famous like cannolo. It's not like the famous like desserts or pastries or foods. It's like more the concept. It's like the brain, like how you guys approach food and like making sure the quality is good, being very critical of like the delicacy of the flavors,
Yeah.
understanding what goes with what. There's all these little like unsaid rules, and it seems like a lot, and it kind of made me more critical of food. So I feel like, but at the same time, you learn how to appreciate food and how to like appreciate vegetables, good quality oils, and as much as people think pizza, pasta, like tons of carbohydrates,
I mean, it is like we have to be honest. As an
it is,
Italian,
but
we have to be honest. It's a lot of carbs,
it makes you the concept though. I think how to enjoy food and like the emphasis on whole foods, I think makes you eat healthier in a certain way. Like it makes
Yeah.
you appreciate the food more, nourishing your body. And like in a lot of cultures in the United States, obviously we don't have a lot of like the food restrictions and the chemicals that are added to like flour and other things. So obviously you have to not overeat because the portions are smaller in Italy
Oh
typically.
yeah.
But also just the appreciation for nourishing your body, I think, is something it's just way different. I think it's more about quality versus quantity.
Yeah. That's why, like, a lot of people, Americans, they go to Italy, they're like, I have no idea how, like, I've been eating pasta every day and I lost weight, or my face, my acne got better, all of that. Like that's something that Americans say all the time. Like compared to Italians going to America, and they're like, I have acne. I started having like hormonal problems and all of that. And you're like, yes, it's because like the food. And it's, I mean, like as an Italian, I try to cook. I try, actually, I cook like Italian food most of the time. Like the typical menu, like like for lunch a little bit of pasta, and for dinner protein with vegetables, like the Mediterranean diet.
Exactly.
But it's different. For example, fish. We eat a lot of fish in Italy. Here, I don't eat a lot of fish because you never find, like sometimes at the grocery store you just find that type of fish. That's it, like shrimp, salmon. Because like in particular when we were
Yeah.
Washington State, like being close to Alaska, Alaskan salmon. But
Seattle has good fish. Seattle was rare. Seattle's like one of the best fish cities in the United States, so it's different. But most places in the United States. But yeah, I think it's different. Italy too, you guys have, and in other countries in Southern Europe, like in Spain and other places, like you guys are obsessed. Like if you go to a fish restaurant, they have to bring out the fish, show you the fish, or you go like pick the fish, and then they bring it out. It's usually cooked in salt. They take it out, and then they start debone. Like it's a whole process. Where Americans are okay with like paying for the fish but not seeing it. So even at nice restaurants here, you just don't know the quality you're going to get because the people's expectations are not as high.
Yeah.
So it's different. It doesn't taste the same for sure.
But yeah, I mean, like these things, and in particular, like of course, like food is a big deal for us. But I think like what I miss the most, like what's like a really good, concept like of living in Italy compared to America, the relationships, the friendships, like
for sure.
how Italians are. Like we are really attached to our family. We're really attached to, like for us is like a big deal, like having lunch or dinner every Sunday all together, like the pranzo della domenica. That's a big deal. Like, why we get all together, the family, we're so many, we're loud, we eat like food everywhere. And you have like lunch, dinner for like 4 hours, and, so like, that's like what I miss the most because of course, like not all Americans are like that. There's like Americans that are like
that. The area too, just like in Italy. If you're in like the city center of Milan, the families are close and people are family oriented, but not as much as like in Rome to the south. And the center in the south, especially in the south, obviously food culture, congregating amongst people, relaxing, enjoying food, enjoying company is much more important. I feel like in the north, just like here, like if you go to big cities or parts of like the east and west coast, it's people are a bit more cold. At least for sure on the west coast, for sure in Seattle is one of the more colder areas, I would say culturally. But if you go like the Midwest or the Southeast, people are definitely a bit more hospitable, a bit more like that. I don't know to the level of like, I mean, Italian is a Latin language. People don't, I mean, yes, there's like Latin America, but like Latin, like Latino is in the south of Rome. So like anybody that speaks a Latin language, there's just something about the cultures and the languages that make it more familial. Like the people are more warm, and whether that be Italians or Spaniards or people in Latin America or Southern Europe, there's just more of this family element and dynamic and more of a desire to be close to your loved ones, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's, like, it's because I think like, like the culture is different, and say that like if I'm wrong, because, like this is based on my experience. How I met a lot of Americans, like living here from different places. And, as an Italian, I was really interested about your culture. So I asked them if it's true that how it is. And like 90% of people ask me, yeah, that's how most of America is. So basically that you grew up really fast compared to us. Definitely. So most of the time you go live alone, you leave your family, you leave your house, you go to college, and like you move out, like that's a big deal. And you don't stay with your family, you don't stay with your parents. It's like if you go around and you say that you're like 25 years old and you still live with your parents, in America, people look at you like,
it's like what? A status thing. People are like, they look down on you, especially as like you're like a guy and you live at home with your mom and you're like 28,
I
27.
know.
People don't look good at that. But like in Italy, it's not just mamone. It's also, I think, because of the work situation. It's a different culture. But I think there's a lot of.
It is. And so that's why, like, I think like we are so we have the like a bond, a strong bond with our family. And in Italy, if you say like, oh yeah, I'm 26, I still live with my parents,
Mhm.
people are like, that's okay. Like it's really different. So that's why I feel like that's what I miss. Like I feel like you guys are more independent, and it's not a bad thing. Don't take me wrong. Like, yeah, like I think like you guys are more responsible because you move out, you have to provide for yourself, you have to go to college, you have to work. If you like, you don't have like money from your family, you have to support yourself, you have to pay for college, you have to get like a side job because you have to pay the debit card that you're paying like towards the university.
Exactly.
So it's like really different. But at the same time, like growing up as an Italian for us is just something, like it's more common living, going to college, but saving money and living with your parents.
Mm-hmm. I think it's more accepted, and I think Italians in general maybe have this desire, and you can say it stifles people or it holds them back and to not be as mature. But I think there's also just that dynamic that's so close with the family that they want to help you until you get to a point where you're ready to do it on your own.
Oh,
and,
yes.
Yeah. I think that
it's just that that's an Italian parents. I see my parents, and of course everyone has different situations.
Exactly.
Because like my parents are like, they can be like that, and other people they don't have that, they're not that lucky. But like my parents, they work their entire life and they save money for me and my brother to go to college and to provide for our life, like, because Italian parents are like, I never gonna leave you alone, I'm gonna help you,
They're
you
your
can stay
parents.
with me.
You're always their little figlio, like it's little like
Yeah, you're always gonna be, like mia figlia, no matter what, my daughter. So yeah, I mean, but of course, everyone is different. But I think like these are more, like. But what do you think?
I mean, when you're talking about Italians, I think there's a couple different dynamics at play. One, I think, is that I think outside of just like, even if you guys are ready, I think like you just like enjoy being with your family more. As much as in America, it depends on your situation. Some people are more supported by their family, some people aren't financially. But I think that people have this sentiment because their families are a bit more cold and the relationship might not be always so warm, especially if we're dealing with like Anglo-Saxon, typical like Americans. Their family's been in America for many years, or I mean, because we're talking about like Latino Americans or Asian Americans, it's a different thing. But with that type of situation, I think people in general have this idea that like the parents even like, oh, I can't wait for them to go to college, or the kids are like, oh, my mom, my dad, they're so annoying.
I know, right?
Italians like actually like hanging out with their parents. You guys have a like more like, I don't want to say like they're your parents, but I think maybe the friendship bond is closer. Like, you guys actually enjoy spending time together, having conversation together. There's just more of this like emphasis on like wanting to be close to your family for better or for worse. And so I think
that's the difference. You're never gonna hear from Italian parents something like, I cannot wait for my son to like leave the house. Oh my God, no! I want you to stay with me as long as you can.
Exactly.
I don't care if you're gonna get married. I want you close to me.
For sure.
Like, you are like, like your mama, that's it. I want you with me.
For sure. I think, and it can, obviously, you lose a little bit of maturity with that, but at the same time, it also just depends on different things. In Italy, unfortunately, and a lot of people I've met like you that have come here, expats, ones that work here, and in Seattle, I know many, especially from the south of Italy, that come as engineers, like in the north too, but the younger ones, especially because in the south, there's less opportunity in Italy. I see a lot of guys and a lot of people I know that come here, work for Amazon, Microsoft, engineers, and they come here for better opportunities, or the north of Italy or other parts of Europe, because unfortunately the north and south of Italy are like different countries and kind of how they operate from a work opportunity standpoint. And
Yeah.
so a lot of it is lack of opportunities for young people make it to where, why would I subject myself to not being in a good financial position? If I want to have a family, I need to allow my family to help me so I can get ahead. So I think there's that too. It's not just like, oh, they're all just like wanting to be, you know, mamone or be like these type of like lazy. It's just also out of necessity, because you guys in the South, Rome is in the center and it's a big city, but especially in the south of Italy, there's just not a lot of infrastructure. Young kids, and you guys are overeducated. You guys have a great.
Unfortunately, you know, like a lot of like people from the south in Italy. You know, my mom is from Sicily, and my dad has Calabrian origins. You know, so they moved to Rome, and that's where they found their jobs. And they, you know, like they work their entire life, and they retired like 2 years ago. You know, my parents are almost, you know, like they're getting close to 70.
Exactly.
But, you know, my mom, you know, like being from Sicily, you know, and she was born and grew up her, you know, like since she was like till I think 17, 18, I don't remember. Of course, you know, like they are forced to move, you know, like, you know, going Rome or going to Milan, you know, a lot of people, you know, like, you know, from the south, they try to go up to the north, because unfortunately there's more, you know, like possibility, you know, like there's more work. There's you study your entire life to be an engineer, and there's not a lot of possibility.
No, I mean,
you know,
I mean, Milan is very expensive to live on.
yeah, it is.
Rome is expensive, but the cost of living may be less. But yeah, I think it's just like I was saying before. I think Italy is just unfortunately, like you guys are an overeducated, because you guys, like, especially in Europe.
Oh yeah, we are
close to other languages and are very cultured, but in general, like the educational system, the universities are so strong, especially in Italy has such a strong universities. University of Bologna is the oldest university in the world, and you guys have all these amazing universities, whether that be like Bocconi for business, or like Pisa, you have Bologna, like you guys have, I mean, Sapienza and Rome's a good school. You guys have just tons of good universities, and you guys, though, after you get your magistrale, or you get like the secondary degree, and you get all these things, you go out to the work field to make like 1,800 euros, 2,000.
I know, it's
like where you go to another country, you have a bachelor's degree, only a 4-year degree, or you go like a triennale in Italy, so 3 years, and you go abroad, or you go to Germany, and you can make 3,000, 4,000.
Oh yes,
euros.
Yes.
Or
like just like you take it, like, let's take an example. Like, my brother is an engineer. You know, he has like master's degree. He's super smart. He's super good at his job. You know, he got hired from, you know, like, you know, Ferrovie dello Stato, you know, like the Italian, whatever company. And for what he's capable,
like
you know,
train, right? Like is it for the trains? Yeah.
He works in the offices. He's an engineer, so you know, like I don't know, they discuss about trains. I don't really know.
Like whatever analytics they go through.
Yeah, yes, we're gonna ask him one day. But you know, like he's like, for what he's capable of, like that he doesn't get that much money. You try to go to America or to Germany or whatever, France, like, you're gonna get paid like double the money, you know, triple the money. It's just like, yeah, unfortunately, you know, like these are the good and the bad about Italy. I mean, I always gonna love Italy. It's my country. You know, but unfortunately, there's so many things that don't work. But you know, Italians know that. But yeah,
I think it just depends. Yeah, I don't know. It can be a tough situation for young people to get ahead in that environment. Let me follow that up with a question of then, like, in the United States, university is very expensive, and it's not, at this point, people are not even thinking it's a good idea if they can't afford it. It's very expensive, and then healthcare is very expensive and dangerous if you don't have it, if you're not employed. And so the government's less involved in the United States in your financial life, I guess. Where in Europe, yes, the government subsidizes healthcare, subsidizes university, but you guys get paid less, let's say in Italy, for example, for the same job, and you have more income tax, you have more overall taxes in general. And here, you're less taxed, unless you're in California, then you're taxed a lot. Like, but outside of California, you maybe have a bit less taxes, but you get paid more. But places like, as you know, you lived close to Seattle. Seattle is one of the highest cost of living in the United States. So, you know, you still do have to make a lot of money to survive and have a good life. And also in Virginia, anywhere in the United States is very expensive. But so what system, like experiencing both, do you lean, like, do you like a bit more the European style of living where the government's a bit more involved? You have more vacation time, you have a bit more help, like from like, you have a bit more help, or do you like more your own agency to kind of like create your future, but life's more expensive in the United States? Like, what is more your style of, like, what have you come to think you would prefer?
So it's you know, it's a little complicated also because I think you know, based on my situation, my husband being in the military, we have, you know, the military TRICARE.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna lie, like things in Italy are getting really, really bad about, you know, like health insurance and, you know, like in general, like, you know, like if you need to go to the hospital, like, yes, it's free, but
The
it's
quality is not
getting
private.
worse and worse. It's like people are forced to get a private health insurance, like
Exactly.
literally same thing you do in America.
Exactly.
You
That's
have
what
to
people
have
realize.
it.
They think it's free, but like if you want to get to the front of the line, you're gonna
Oh
have to
yeah.
pay,
Oh my
just
God.
like
Yes.
everywhere.
They literally let you die. Like you're like, oh yeah, I need to get an appointment. It's really important, you know, and I need to check my heart. Oh yeah, you know, the first availability is gonna be in 3 years, and you're like, okay, yeah, for that time I'm gonna be dead, but thank you though.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
and
Bureaucracy.
that's what forced you to go to someone private, like, you know, like a private, you know, like center, a private hospital. And you know, yes, it's still really good because, for example, you know, right now that I'm pregnant and I'm gonna give birth in America, when you know, when you say to people, you're like, oh, you know how much you have to pay if you don't have insurance in America to give birth, and you know, it's like for like between like 30-40,000. They look at you and they're like, what? Like you have to pay, like,
Yeah.
what if we like would have insurance? Like, yeah, you have to
You're
pay.
broke. You go bankrupt.
You go bankrupt, you go like in like the deepest depth of your life, and you have to pay like till you die, and like you have to pay $30,000. But yeah, welcome to America. And you know, like in Italy, it's for free. Like you know, like you have to give birth. Like I just go to a, you know, public hospital, and like, you know, the hospitals and doctors are really, really good in Italy. Like I'm not gonna, you know, like gonna lie. The problem is like how our government is, you know, like handling, you know, all the like, we have so many, like, the thing is we pay taxes, okay? So what I try to explain to Italians, it's not any different from America, you know, because they're like, oh yeah, because in America you have to pay for insurance, like health insurance. Yes, but we do the same in Italy. In Italy, when you go through, you know, like your statements and you get paid every month, it literally tells you taxes. That's what you pay
Social
for.
Security, everything. Yeah.
Yes. So where's the difference?
It's
But at least like you pay for it, but you have it.
you can choose. Like in Italy, you pay, like in Europe, you're paying up front, which is what people don't like in the United States. Most like people from the United States that understand finances, like they don't. I think one thing they don't like is like in Europe, you're having, because there's all these public services, people like every year are having to pay like over half of their income to the government. Where
Yes.
United States, depending on your state, because we're more state ran, where Italy's more federally ran, like the country controls more. Where here, because we're so big, the states have way more control. And so, you know, in some states where there's not like Washington, for some reason, even though it's very liberal and left, we don't pay income taxes. So like
Yeah.
we pay sales taxes, but you have more, I think, agency to, like, in the United States, you pay more, you're going to pay all the taxes. It's just, you pay them more. There's a choice. Like, do you want to pay this right now? And so you pay longer throughout your life instead of just upfront. And in Italy, like in Europe, you're like, you have to receive things versus like you choose to receive things.
Oh yeah.
But I will say one thing with the healthcare and some things. If there's an emergency, you'd way rather be without insurance. You'd rather be in Europe because you go to the emergency room. If it's like a, I don't know if it's like codice rosso. It's like they have like green, yellow.
Yeah.
If you go to them and you're gonna die and they give you open heart surgery, it's not, you don't have to pay, right? Exactly. So like the only thing so like your annual physical exam or going to the doctor, the dentist in Italy is probably doesn't really matter. But for the emergencies, I think that's the one probably pro for Europe.
Yeah, like for example, like my parents are coming to visit, and they're gonna stay here 3 months. Had to pay for insurance because if something happens, my parents are almost 70, like they go to because my dad was like, so it's not like Italy. If I go to the hospital, like I'm like, yes, Dad, they're gonna, like take care of you, but then you're gonna get the bill.
Your dad is
and you're gonna cry. You know that, right? And so they had to get an insurance because if something happens, they have to go to the hospital. Like, in Italy, if you're a foreign, like you, Grayson, go to Italy and something happens, they take care of you, but they're never gonna send you a bill.
No, exactly. It's just
so
that's one thing.
There's pros and cons, but if we wanna, go, it's for free. But again, how
as a citizen, you're paying half. You're still paying for it. You're gonna pay
exactly for it. You're still paying for it. And you are forced to double pay because if you cannot find an appointment for something you need to do, you have to pay again because you're going to apply.
You're almost forced, the government or as a resident, you're forced to pay for things that you don't need. Whereas the United States, we have less protections, but we don't pay for things unless we need them as much. I think
exactly. Yes.
The government controls less.
Yes. Yes. You guys are more free. Like the land of the free. I mean, it changed a lot, how it was, like the American dream. We all know that, unfortunately, it changed a lot. But you guys still, like, I do what I want to do. Like you don't force me to do something.
No, in general, people are
just Americans are really, like
entrepreneurial. Let's go, optimistic.
Yes, like
Europeans are negative a little bit. No offense.
Yeah, like that's why most of Americans they could never live in Italy. They could never live in Europe because
it's a lot.
They're too used to like doing whatever they want. Like that's America.
For sure.
But I mean,
I think the optimism is a different. What is your opinion on I think Americans are like innately, and not everybody, but like I think we're naturally more like, oh, you want to start this business? Oh yeah, like go for it. Like you can be. Some people say no, but like overall, like there's this thing of like work to live versus live to work. But with Americans, because they really do, their identity is so wrapped in our work, that like when we want to do something different or go down this path or start this business, there's much more like the society looks at it like, oh yeah, like that's what you should go for, like do something different.
Oh yeah.
I think in Europe and in Italy, unfortunately, I mean, there's so many other qualities of the personalities of people in Italy, charisma, warmness, closeness. There's more fun. It's just like more fun and loving. But at the same time, like you want to be different, I think like it's less accepted. Like Italians, tell me if I'm wrong, but the culture is a little more negative. They're like, staying not just in Italy, but other parts of Europe. Like,
it is.
It's a bit more like, I think, inspired and influenced by like the aristocracy, like kind of like of the past, because they're older countries. So people is like, you have your more social classes that were built before. So people have this idea of like, why would you do something different? Kind of follow the path of like what you should do. Don't try to, it's a bit more like a little more of a like follow your dreams.
Oh yeah, like in America, it amazed me. Start doing it since you're like in school. Like follow your dreams, do whatever you want to, like, and it's like in Italy, I mean, yes, they do that, but not like here, like
for sure.
And also that's like something that I love about America, and that this is what I always talk about on my social media to my Italian followers. the big difference between America and Italy in, like, opening a business, starting your own, like, company, whatever. First of all, the government in America helps you, like, if you
Um,
need it, they help you. They, like, they try to, like, get you started and all of that.
mhm.
In Italy, they literally, like, you want to open something, you're like, oh my God, if I think about it, I have to go through bureaucracy, like, I don't want to do anymore.
Yeah,
It's just insane. And, like, so many taxes. If you want to do everything, like following the book, it's like literally at the end of the month, you're like, all the money that I got, they went through taxes, they went to the government.
yeah,
and there's this difference between, Americans and Italians. Americans, they really support you. Like, you open a, like a small business, your business, and, like, with like Instagram, TikTok,
hmm,
one video go viral, you open your company of, like, I don't know, like t-shirts, and, the video go viral, and you start, like, selling, and, you go for it, you're super good, your products are amazing, and everyone starts to buy. And, like, the cool part about America, it's still that land of opportunities that you can
yeah.
actually become a millionaire
It's
because you're,
monetized in so many different ways. There's so many opportunities. I
oh my
mean,
God, yes.
we do have, it's more competitive, but there's less barrier to entry. Like, you can enter the market, and it's not as much about connections. It is more about, I think, your
Oh
merits.
yes, it's
In
like, yeah.
Italy, I think
Well,
connections are
mhm.
family
In
ties. They're
Italy,
important
in
here.
Italy, no, in Italy, and also you open your company in America, and Americans gonna support you. Americans gonna be like, yeah, let's go buy, let's go buy that product. Let's go try that coffee, that new coffee shop. Instead of going to Starbucks, let's try to, support small businesses. They are happy to help you. They're not jealous. There's no envy,
Less jealous.
like, you're
Yeah.
good, go for you go, like, think about, like, an example, like, Antico Vinaio is that
Yeah.
guy, that,
Tommaso, blah blah blah, from Firenze,
yeah,
the
he
Toscano guy.
makes those Italian sandwiches, and
Yeah.
is really famous in Italy. He decided to expand in America, and he's doing super good. He opened in New
Oh yeah.
York, now he opened in Los Angeles. You should see the comments coming from Italians.
Post Lamborghini, people got mad. It's like, why?
Oh my God, it
He's
was
the favorite. He's helping spread. He's helping
like,
spread the
what are you
gastronomy.
talking about? He's Italian like you. The difference between you and him, that he left his comfort zone.
Yeah, 100%.
He like did that jump, and he can afford a Lamborghini right now. And why are you right there? He's Italian like you. You should be proud.
Yeah,
Like, he's
yeah,
spreading the word, he's spreading
for
the
sure.
Italian food. And you're over there, like, texting and be like, oh, look at this guy with the money because he's selling 2 sandwiches. I can do that too. Why you don't do it?
Well, yeah, people can make schiacciata, and people can have the same. They can have the special, like with the mortadella mortazzo with the pistachio.
Yeah. Yes, it's super easy.
It's super
You
easy,
know
but
that.
the difference is him. The idea, he marketed it. He did something different, found the unique point of difference. This is American ingenuity. Like, this is
Exactly.
the mindset. He took the amazing food of Italy. This is what I do in my life, and you do too. I think you take the best parts of each culture. You take the food in Italy and the American spirit, and then you make it into this.
Oh my God, yes. And he made it. And
Yeah.
me, like, as someone like that, it's my mind is open. Like, I'm not those type of Italians that are like, like texting and like commenting. You know how many Italians, like, on my videos of my TikTok, Instagram, you can literally, like, you read the comments and you literally read the envy. You can feel the envy, the jealousy through their comments. It's like, oh, look at her, she lives in America, she's married to an American. Wanted to do that, but I never got, I don't know if we can say, like,
Because they feel bad about themselves, not because.
I know, right? There's something that they want to do, but they know it's hard because, of course, I'm not gonna lie, as an Italian living in America, this was like one of the hardest thing I ever in my life. You know, like it's so hard. This is not my country. This is not my language. Yes, I can speak English, I can understand, but like everything is different. Everything is new.
100%.
I spent 24 years of my life in Rome, in Italy. You know, like this is so different.
Yeah.
And so, but I did it. I
You did
left
it.
my comfort zone. I left everything. I had an amazing life in Italy.
100%.
You know, I had my family, I had a house, you know, I had my friends, you know, like I had everything. But I decided to leave, you know, to follow my heart, to follow my husband. But it's hard.
I mean, I agree with you. And coming from my perspective, I've never lived full time in Italy, but being there for very consistently every year for a month at a time, I've been there for 6 months at a time, and building so many friendships and relationships. But even someone where I've thought about moving to Italy many times, who knows if I will in the future, maybe. But I can tell you for firsthand, do you know many Americans who are as passionate about Italy as me? Probably not. I love Italy a lot.
No.
But like
You
you love very passionate since you're a little girl. Like I'm about Italy. I have some origins. You were always passionate about America.
Yeah.
But still, even with all the passion, you're
not gonna get used to it.
To move there, to change your life from your family, the little tiny things. Like I'm still very American in so many ways, and my comfort zone and my everything. To leave all that behind to start a new life, I commend you. It shows your strength and your mental strength. And it's not something that's no matter. Even right now, if I speak Italian pretty well for an American, if I understand the cultural nuances, if I have a lot of friends there, like I know a lot of people in Italy, like it wouldn't be like another country. But still, there's still this anxiety that you get that you have to overcome. So, bravo.
It makes you, you know, you have to. I'm not gonna lie, you have to be strong. It's hard. So I think when people makes it, you know, when people are like, it's like I made it, I did this. I don't think you should be jealous, you know, like talking, you know, like about Italians, like being, you know, and that's the difference. That's what I was trying to say, you know, like Americans gonna support you.
100%.
American gonna like, you know, go to your shop, get your coffee. If you open like a coffee shop, they're gonna support you. Yeah, let's go to this coffee shop. This is local. In Italy, if you have a good idea and you actually, you know, like you go through bureaucracy and you actually open that, you know, like coffee shop, let's say, people are not that supportive. And they're like, oh yeah, there's a new coffee shop. Yeah, I'm not gonna go by there because it's probably
I couldn't do it myself, so I'm mad.
I don't care. Like I don't want to go there. I don't want to like support him. It was like, oh, it's gonna get, you know, like for example in Rome, you know, like, you know, we have apartments, so there's like the shops are literally like and above it there's your apartment, there's your window. And you should see how many times there's a brewery, you know, close to my house, and there's always a guy above it. They always like it gets like a thing of water, and like, you know, like when it's like starting to be like 11:30 p.m. midnight, it's like, you have to stop, I have to work tomorrow, and literally dumps the water like on the people, like drinking brewery. It's like drinking beer. It's just like every time I go to Italy, it's just so funny because this guy gets super mad because so the people are like, I don't want another bar, I don't want a cafeteria, I don't want people. There's so many people. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I think, it depends on the city too. Rome is I think even other cities in the south are probably worse, but Rome, I just know Rome better. Notoriously known for sometimes, as much as like I love Romans, I love you guys, like not you, but like in general, like they like there was when I was studying in Italy, not me, but two of my friends I lived with who live in Minnesota now, they're American, but they had a professor in Rome who would always argue with our director because like our director had a better mindset as a Roman because but this professor would tell the kids, like tell the students, like, hey, don't pay for your tickets on the Mezzi Pubblici, like don't have tickets. And the kids were like, they're like, we don't have to. He's like, Rome doesn't support you, so I don't support Rome. And what? And
Yeah,
then
see,
and then
that's what I'm
Marco,
talking about.
our director was like, "Do not listen to your professor. He's the issue because Rome people like in Rome complain about the trash, but then they'd be like, well." The government doesn't do anything, so screw it. I'll throw the trash, and then it makes.
I know, that's what I'm talking about. This is like our biggest problem.
Lots of
Like instead, like, and it's gonna be so fun now because, for example, like that's what I was actually thinking about yesterday. I was driving. How you drive in America, it's
oh,
really different. Like in particular,
I've
if you
only
live
driven
in
once in
Rome.
Italy, and it was in Sardinia, so I can't even tell you. Driving in
Oh
Rome would
my
be
God,
impossible.
it's insane. I was thinking how like my parents, coming here because this is gonna be their second time in America, but the first time we were in New York and it was vacation, so they didn't like actually live
The
life,
life, an actual
So
like
now
super
they're
good
gonna live
America.
life because I live here. This is my house, and like sometimes my dad doesn't even like put his seatbelt on.
No,
And it's gonna be fun because they're like, you have to put your seatbelt on even if you're in the back seat. So I just want to like see the difference, like it's gonna be like, what do you mean I have to put my seatbelt in the back? I don't do that. Like,
is he gonna drive?
what?
Is he gonna drive here too?
No, I don't know if he's
He's
gonna
not gonna
drive.
like go in between lanes. Go, oh, I like just go try to like be.
Oh yeah, well,
Regular
sometimes
road guy.
what, like me and my husband, we were in Rome, and this is something Italians do. Like we drive and we see something wrong or someone is not like going, it's a green and they don't go. We honk and we're like, what are you doing? And my husband kept saying, they're not gonna hear you. Why you keep
It's
screaming?
fine.
And like, because that's what we do. We
Yeah.
talk when we're driving. Like,
It's
so
the difference. I think you in America, like if you like get mad at someone on the road, sometimes nobody will do anything, and then they'll be the one crazy person that like brings out a gun. But in Italy, nobody will bring out a gun. They'll just talk
oh my
behind the window
God.
and just be like, "Oh."
Yeah, like, what are
They're
you
just super mad,
doing?
but they won't
Like,
actually hurt you.
go!
They freak out with their words.
I know it's crazy. It's insane. Oh yeah. Well, that's what something else we wanted to talk. Guns.
Oh yeah, guns.
That's something. That's something. I don't remember if it was a question from your followers or my followers.
I can't remember.
I think mine. I don't know. Yeah, this insane difference between Italia and America.
Mm-hmm.
Guns, weapons. I don't know. So my husband is American, and it's like a really common in America having at least like a pistol, something small
For
to
sure.
protect yourself. You have in your safe, just something happens, like if someone gets in your house, so you
There's
you
that
have the
mentality,
right.
like personal safety. Americans, personal safety means getting a gun, whereas
Oh
like
yeah,
for
that's the
Italians,
first thing.
like carabinieri, people like on the sidewalk. Outside of that, like no, I don't get done. Like what?
Oh no, it's not legal.
No.
You cannot have a weapon, and here, it's really common. Like nothing wrong. Like if someone tells you, "Oh yeah, I have like, those are my pistols," and
This is my shotgun.
the first time I came in America, I was shocked. Like I just
Scary.
remember.
Look at the supermarket.
I know, like my house dad. I remember my house dad in the backyard. He used to live in this big house around the woods. So he was just like with this big, like whatever it was.
It's the shotgun where they shoot the pigeons.
Yes,
They, like,
and he was shooting. And I was on the phone with my parents. I was like, oh my God, my house dad is shooting. I'm like, what am I doing? And I was I was not used to it. But like if you to Italians, one time, like, I was in Washington State and my husband was stationed there and he had roommates, before we got married. And one of the girls that she was living there, that, she's one of my friends. She was at watch, so you're gonna be alone in the house, just in case. I'm gonna leave my pistol under the pillow
for you to use.
Yes, it's like, wait, what? I'm like, I don't know how to use a pistol.
Yeah.
I never touched it. And she's like, it's just in case. Why are you stressing so
Just in
much?
case you shoot yourself.
Because I'm not used
I'm
to
scared.
being in a house that I know there's weapons. Just the idea
It's
of
just
like
outside of your
living in
comfort zone.
somewhere and there's weapons. As an Italian, it's insane.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
unless you are like I think unless you're like a poliziotto, carniere, or like you're
oh
like
yes,
you're like an esercito, like if you're like in the military, like it's normal, like those type of guys. But it's like a very specific type of guy in Italy that has.
oh yes.
Outside of them, nobody does.
Yeah, you're in the
Only
police, you work, and like you're a security guard, whatever. But like it's insane. Now I'm used to it because, of course.
your husband.
But like, like my husband was like, "Oh yeah, for my birthday I want a new gun." I'm like, come on, it's
Very different than
something.
Italian guys. Maybe I don't
Like,
know.
what do you mean?
Marco in Rome might want a new like scarf shot.
I know, right? Like, yeah, I want a new scarf. I want like Gucci
Yeah.
slippers. Oh no, I want a gun. I'm like,
Amo questo vedi questo nuovo profumo.
I know, right? And I was like, okay, but now I'm used to it. But I know that for Italians, oh my God, it's not a thing.
No.
No. Yeah, how do you feel as an American?
I think this is again. I think Seattle probably is less of a big gun place, big place where people are gun owners, but still much more than Italy. I'd say at least half or more than half of my friends are gun owners, have a gun license.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm of the belief, like, I'm not going to talk too much about politics, but I'm of the belief that if you are to get a gun, you should have either work in like with the police or the military, or you should do it as a hobby and be able to have to go through classes and get a license. Like, I don't think a normal person, it's pretty easy to get a gun, which is an issue in the United States. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I took classes just to understand how to use one. And like that day they were like, oh, so here's your gun, you can purchase it. And I'm like, what? I've done like 2 hours of classes. Like, how am I supposed to purchase a gun right now?
Yeah, like
I need to practice more. Like, I don't feel comfortable just owning one because I could forget how to use it. And so like, I think like it is, a big thing of like one of like the like our main rights as US citizens is to bear arms. I'm pretty good at history, but I don't know if it's the Second Amendment, whatever amendment it is.
Yeah, the second. Yes.
Yeah. Very,
Yes.
but like if people for gun owners, they know that like by heart. So it's
Yeah.
very important. And even in more of a, I would say we're more of a liberal area, I think there's still a lot of people that own guns. For me, and that's so that overall it's very accepted and normal. Even like for people, I have friends or people I know that are a cop or stuff like that. I mean, they have license to carry when they're in the grocery store, when they're at, picking their kids up from kindergarten, which is still for me like, holy that's a lot. Like, that's crazy.
I know.
So from a personal perspective, I don't want to say like, oh, I'm more Italian or I'm more American. Like, maybe I'm in the middle, but like for me, I didn't grow up around like my family having a lot of guns or it being like, I was never passionate about like, some guys are like really into like collecting, shooting and stuff like that. It's not like a big passion of mine. I would say from a hobby standpoint, maybe I'm a little more like a European guy.
Yeah, I feel like it's more like a thing, like you're more like a city guy.
Exactly.
I feel like in America, you go to Tennessee, you go to Texas, you go to Ohio, you go to the countryside.
Yeah.
Everyone has guns.
Maybe in Italy, like if like a cacciatore, like hunters and stuff have guns. But yeah, I mean, if you're guys in Rome, maybe I'm more like that. It goes across.
Oh yeah, we are city people. We're not used to it.
Maybe I get so for me personally, I don't know enough about guns to like give a huge opinion on like what I think is completely right. I think you should have a license. You should have to go through the necessary steps and be very prepared to use the firearm. And so people that aren't the knowledge shouldn't use it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, definitely it's more accepted in the culture to have guns versus like when I meet people in Italy, for them it's very shocking. Like,
oh yeah, it is.
Normal. So
I want to ask you something because I had this conversation one time with someone American, and I wanted to know about this thing. How do they feel about having guns? And I was like, this guy was like, think about it, and I want to know what you think. If it's actually something that actually Americans think about. He's like, think about something. You go to the mall, you have your gun. You're someone that is you're healthy, you don't have any mental problems, you're a normal person, you just have
Yeah.
your gun. Someone like crazy at the mall, someone crazy gets like their gun and starts shooting. Me as an American, I feel so much better thinking that someone has a gun and is gonna get and is gonna shoot at this guy, the guy that is shooting. Because
Exactly.
everything I started like because I asked them, I was as an Italian, I was like, I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel safe going around and thinking, you go to Target, you go to Walmart,
In our
and thinking
culture,
that
no.
someone under their shirt right now they're having a gun. And the American, that what he answered. So I want to know if you agree.
Yeah. My perspective, I think it's a systemic thing. I think that there's people that in our culture where guns are easy to access, it's different than in Europe because like it's hard. It's like apples and oranges comparison because in Europe, people probably don't have a gun and there's also weird thing too in European cities. You guys have like carabinieri, like military police always in like by Fontana di Trevi, by the Vaticano, like you have them in different big areas where here we don't really have that, but we have more citizens that can bear arms. But for me, I would say I can see the American guy's point in the sense of like the world, like this is an analogy, but you have like sheep, which is most people. You have the sheep dogs, which are like the people that like the more good people that protect like the basic citizens, and then the wolves, which are like bad people. Okay.
Yeah.
So, like his whole thing would be like, I'm the protector, so I'm a strong, dangerous person that uses my power for good, and this person is mentally crazy, so they're trying to kill people. So in that perspective, I can see how having good citizens with good mental health, which I think there should be mental health checks, like you should take a test before you get a gun, because how do you know?
Yeah.
Because people act, a lot of serial killers act normal until they have the gun.
Yeah.
So, but I can see the perspective that guy's taking. I think maybe as an American, I kind of maybe agree. Like, I think if I knew that there was people that with a healthy mind that did carry and had a gun, and the situation before the police arrived, that is a good thing. But it's hard to say because then at the same time, like if too many people have guns, how many people are really normal? Like there's some crazy people. Like I just don't know. So I think from my American perspective, I can see his point. Whether I agree with it, it
depends.
It's such a rare situation with all the shootings in the United States. I kind of agree though that if there can be people with mental health checks and get guns, it could help save lives. From a European perspective, I don't like you guys don't have the issue, so
yeah,
it's a huge issue here. But like again, why is it an issue? Like Americans try to argue like, well, no, have to be protected to have more guns. But when you look at other cultures where there's not as much of the issue, but why is that? Because it's like so the statistics say one thing, but your heart says another thing.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be a mom soon. I don't really know if my son is gonna, like it depends if we're gonna stay here, we're gonna move back to Italy. But like as someone European and thinking that my possibility, my son is gonna go to an American high school.
It's scary.
You can understand how scared I am. Thinking that my son can go to school and someone gets a gun and gets in the school and starts shooting, and like it's just as an perspective, as an Italian perspective, it's just that's insane.
Yeah.
You send your son to school and your son is safe.
Exactly.
You're never gonna have it. I've never had that problem of me.
It's never happened ever.
I know, right? And like my mom never had that. That. Thing like I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna send Ilaria to school and I have to pray that someone is not getting to school and start shooting.
Exactly.
Like and that's and that's what I see, a big difference as an Italian growing up in Italy, and now I'm having a son in America, and it petrifies me. Like it's so scary.
Yeah, I can't imagine having a kid. Like I've thought about it and I haven't even had a kid yet, so that would be crazy.
I know it's, that's why, like, I kind of I'm okay, like, for now living here because of my husband's job and all of that. but I kind of want to move to Italy, when my son is, is going to start elementary or middle school, because I don't know, I just don't feel safe. Like, I don't feel,
For sure.
like, I don't have a peace of mind. Like, I need that. That's my son, it's my newborn, it's my firstborn. And I don't want to, like, stay home and like praying and my son is going to come back home. Like, it's just, but yeah.
Is that
I
your,
think
oh, sorry.
fine.
No, I mean, yeah, no, that makes total sense. I can see you're saying how that would make you feel that way. Do you think, also piggybacking off that question, or like asking another question, do you think, what is your opinion based off growing up in Italy and then understanding and seeing how it is here? Do you think that the child, like an Italian childhood, would better suit your throughout most of their life than an American childhood, as far as like the value system, how they grow up? Like, obviously there's pros and cons versus the cultures and the society, but would you, that it seems as though maybe you'd feel more at ease if your son, at least for part of his childhood, would also get the Italian perspective or have an Italian childhood?
So I don't saying this because I'm Italian. I don't want to say, I want to be like neutral.
Exactly.
But we have social media. Everyone knows the cultural level of some Americans. Unfortunately, we know. I don't want people to think like I'm kind of like, oh, look at this Italian girl talking, bad about Americans. No.
We have to
be honest.
The
level is kind of like, this is because, and I think it's like, if you find a balance, I think it's good. So, Italian high school in Italy, everything goes around studying, working your ass off, going back home, having the stress of like, I have to do homework. I have so many homework. I have to go back home and study because tomorrow the professor is gonna, like question me, history, Italian, many like homework.
I think it's harder.
And it's so much harder. We study so hard. And that's why, like, most of people in Italy, they speak different languages. They know about, different countries.
History of different, the geography.
Exactly. Americans, some of them, they don't really know because they're like, I don't want to know. I live in America. They grow up thinking that America is the best country in the world.
Unfortunately,
they live in a bubble. I am telling you, when I was an au pair and I used to go to college, they asked me if in Rome we still ride horses or we have highways or we have cars.
Italy is Paris.
That's what I'm talking about. Or like they asked me if Italy was in France. Also, you speak French because Italy is in France? No, I speak Italian.
Italian.
And that's like I have so many like things that Americans ask me that I'm kind of like, I'm still shocked. I think, being, like having like a cultural, like, like a high cultural level and, knowing things is really important. But something that I think it's so much better, if like at one point, like we're going to stay here, my son is going to go to an American high school. Here, they're really focused on your mental and physical health. They're not that focused like in Italy. You have to study.
Theoretical. I think Italy's very theoretical. It's not so practical. Like we do more group projects. It's more holistic.
Yes. You have book class. You have gym. We have that.
In Italy, it's all separated.
We have l'ora di educazione fisica, and it's literally most of the time you're like going to the bar and get cappuccino, talk with your friends, and like, probably like do a little bit of volleyball, and that's it. 1 hour. You guys are really focused on that, like kids, like those amazing things that we don't have: homecoming, football, cheerleading, basketball, baseball, and we love that.
The social element is different.
We love that.
Cool. I think that's an important thing to point out. I think American education is more holistic, and like I was saying, like the oral exams is the one thing. Like, even like the maternità or Maturità? What's the exam?
Maturità, yeah.
At the end of high school would be insane here because like we have, even in college, like when I would speak or do presentations, it'd be like presentations, group projects, or I did like a report and I present it in front of the class. But it would not be like, you guys literally do like have like oral exams where you talk about
oh my god, yes,
where you have to go in front and answer like short answer questions. We have a lot of multiple choice tests. Doesn't exist in Italy.
oh no, that's why like exchange students, they come from Italy and they do the exchange student the fourth year. You know, in America you guys have 4 years of high school, we have 5. So they come here and they graduate. So they get, you know, the American maturità, and then they go back to Italy and they do the Italian one. And they're like,
it's not even like a thesis. Like in Italy, it's like college almost in high school, I feel like.
I know. And they're like, they come here, they're like, that's it? That's what you guys do during like exams or like class? Or like, that's easy.
For sure.
It's so hard. But that helps us, you know, like, I think like, you know, because a lot of Italians are like, I rather having, you know, like the, you know, American school compared to Italian.
Yeah.
But I don't agree. I disagree because I think that's what helps us. That's what builds us, you know, like the anxiety of like, I'm going to have this exam. This exam is really hard. I'm going to have to talk in front of the class and the professor is going to ask me so many questions. I have to study.
Yeah.
You know, you don't sleep. Like, that's the thing. You don't sleep. You have anxiety. You're like, oh my God, tomorrow is the day. Like, I don't, oh my God. You know,
for sure.
but that's what builds us. That's why, like, you know, like we know so many things and it's actually, you know, it works.
I think it makes you guys too, like, I would say that this is not hate on my own culture, but like the average Italian, let's say like a regular Italian person and a regular American person, the average Italian person, not everybody, because there's some people that just aren't the most.
Oh, yeah.
But the average person just is more interesting. They're just, you guys just know a bit more about what's going on in the world. You have more opinions on things. You definitely are Italians and French are more critical of things because your brain, like why do you think Italians, especially like Italians or people like that, are known for being great conversationalists? Because you guys have things like to add to conversation. It's just more stimulating, I would say. And this is
my God, yes.
I've many Italian friends.
Love to talk.
But
and I'm telling you, we are, you know, now things are changing because now with social media, people are starting to actually, you know, talk about their experiences. So they actually explain to Italians that, you know, for example, America is not what you see in movies because that's how we grew up. You know, like Europe, Italy, we literally grew up watching American movies, American series TV, and we have this idea of like this American dream. You know, like when I was a kid, I was obsessed with Gossip Girl, Orange County, those like series TV that they show you this amazing life in America, these rich people living their best lives.
It's a tiny little, it's like in Italy, La Dolce Vita,
yes,
Val d'Orcia, like Tuscan Villa, horses, old money girl.
Yeah, then like just a few people can afford, like,
exactly.
Oh yeah.
Or like
the idea of like getting married sul Lago di Bracciano.
Or then there's two, like, what's the TikTok? It's like 6'5", blue eyes, finance, trust fund. It's like that type of archetype Italian boy that's like rolls up in like the nice, like it's like very like Periolini, rich people in Toscana. It's the average Italian life is not like this romantic guy that speaks 4 languages that comes from the best.
Like I'm gonna fall in love with the Italian guy from Rome. He's gonna show me Rome with the Vespa. We're gonna go around. No,
like
you know,
like
so that's why, like, you know, a lot of Italians are always being like super. I want to go to America. I want to live the American dream. I want to go to the high school. I want to date a cheerleader. I want to date a quarterback. Oh my God, my favorite movie was Cinderella Story, and that was my dream. Being like dating like a quarterback and like kissing under the rain, you know, like during the football season, like, you know, like those things. And of course, like Americans, watching so many Italian movies, because it's not like in Italy, we have a lot of American movies compared to you guys.
Mhm.
You probably some of the Americans, like most of Americans, never watch an Italian movie.
No, but it's still romantic. I think with Instagram, it's worse now. It's like that idea of
Oh
like,
my God, yes.
there's
You see these
so,
people,
like, my
of
face
course,
with
they have
people.
so much money because also, like as an American, when you go to Italy, everything is cheaper. So of course you have so much money to spend because everything is cheaper, like, and
It's
most of the time, Americans that they travel outside America, they can't afford that.
exactly. It's just this idea
And
that
they show you, they go to Milan, they go to Costiera Amalfitana, they go
yeah,
to Capri.
yeah.
I don't know. And you're like,
No,
no one,
Italian
some
hate.
people can afford that. Not everyone.
It's
And they show you this amazing proposal, like, oh yeah, we're gonna get married in Italy. Like,
it's
like,
beautiful. It's cool. To travel in Italy, there's no, if money is, I will say one thing, if money is no object, if you are just visiting Italy, or if you live there and you're a billionaire or a rich Italian, there's reason why all rich, really rich Italians stay in Italy. Because if you have money in Italy, there is no better quality of life. It doesn't exist. I'll tell you one
yes,
thing about the United States.
exactly.
United States is the best. If you have money, you get treated very well, and it's very good. But the quality of life that Italy renders when you travel, like to visit Italy and live there, completely different.
Oh my God, yes.
So I'm saying, like,
Yes, like
it's
the
true. It's a
dream
much
life
more
in
dream.
Italy, you don't need to go outside. You're rich.
It's at everything.
You spend like your
Food,
like
culture,
winter. I know. Like you spend winter time, you do Settimana Bianca, you go to the north and you
go anywhere. You go.
Dolomiti, yes, Cortina d'Ampezzo,
Yeah.
and that's who your, like winter time. And
Mhm.
then summertime, you go to Capri, you go to Costiera Amalfitana, you go to these
Paella,
beautiful places.
you go to Sicily, you go to
You
Puglia,
go to Sicily, you go to like, like we have everything you need. But of course, like it's always, like about money. So, but that's everywhere in the world.
everywhere in the world, your reality is partly dictated by your financial situation. But I will say, when we do make the comparison, yeah, I'd say just like the United States, I would say, yeah, the United States is an amazing country. But I'd say, as far as to visit, like let's compare it to live as a basic person. If you can figure out a way to get a good job, I'd say America is probably a better place as far as like financial and like overall quality of life. But if you have money or if you're traveling just for enjoyment, no, it's not even close.
Yes.
America's not that fun to travel, in my opinion, for enjoyment. I mean, we have amazing nature, but outside of nature and other things, you know better than me, though. You've been more of a tourist. Like I've been more of a tourist in Italy. But for me, in general, I think Italy and even Latin America, even like, let's say parts of Mexico or Spain or France, like there's so much culture. If you like culture, I'd say Italy is a better place for enjoyment.
Yeah, I feel like the difference, the big is America, Italy. America, if you're rich, you live your best life.
Yes,
and hands down, that's a fact. And that's what I try to tell my Italian followers.
it sucks if you
You
don't.
go to America, you're rich, best life ever. The problem is when you're like the middle class that is slowly disappearing in America,
For sure.
because there's people that they're like insanely rich and people that literally are
For
homeless.
politics.
They literally they don't have a house. They literally live in the street. That's the problem. In Italy, if you are middle class, in America, you struggle a lot.
You can't have fun. In Italy, you still go aperitivo. You maybe
Exactly.
go to
Exactly.
like,
That's what I try to tell my Italian followers that they
it's
don't understand.
4
They
weeks.
don't
Americans zero.
Exactly. If you struggle in America, literally you are dead inside because you
Stop.
cannot even afford to go out because you go out for dinner, it's 60, 70 bucks. Like minimum.
You get fish, you get top tier ristorante stirato for like
Yes.
$100.
In Italy, if you're still a middle class, you're not that rich, but you're still middle, you can still have a nice life. And that's what I try to tell to Italians. That's the big difference between America and Italy.
100%.
You know, like
It's
the thing
harder.
is, it's disappearing in Italy a little bit, but here in America is going faster because America, we know that it's a capitalistic country.
Exactly.
Here, everything goes around money because that's how it is.
If you work and you find some good connections and you get a little bit of luck in the United States, you can have a lifestyle that in Italy, unless you have, I think, deep family ties or long historical or family connections, if you don't have that, or you're not super smart or special, it's very hard to be very wealthy.
Yes.
America, with a little bit of luck, meeting the right people and working very hard, you can have a lot of, it's just, and so you just have to pick. But yeah, you're right in the sense that America is not we're stuck in a whole continent. So we also can't, in Europe, you can travel to different countries, explore different things, have nice experiences for cheap. We're literally stuck in this big country.
Yeah.
And if you don't have money, I think America is more of a cruel place. And if
It
you have
is.
money, it's a nice, unfortunately,
Yeah.
capitalistic culture gives you more opportunities. But if you don't take those opportunities, if you just want to be a regular person, normal in America, life's going to be a bit different. In Europe, you're more taken care of, but you have to accept that it's harder to become that top person. This is different.
Yeah, no, yeah, I completely agree with you. You know, that's how it is. And that's why, you know, like, of course, like people always ask me the same question. Would you rather living in Italy or would you rather stay in America? And I always say, I want to go back to Italy because, you know, all these things that we've been talking about and so much more, I rather living in Italy
For sure.
because of course, like me and my husband, you know, he has like a good position in the Navy, you know, like is good. Like, I'm not saying we struggle with money, but what we have here, we can have like double the things in Italy. We can have a better life in Italy because
Sure.
here, at the end of the day, we cannot afford to do what we can do in Italy, you know, like doing the same thing, doing the same job, working the same hours. It's just, you know, and I feel like the quality of life, you know, like all the things we talk about today, I feel like that's where I want to be, you know, like also because, of course, my family's there and, you know.
That's a huge element. I mean, if my family wasn't
Yeah.
here, I probably would be in Italy, maybe.
Yeah. You know,
It's tough when, you have the family support. You can have all the friends in the world, but if your family, your mom, your dad, it's different.
Yeah. But,
Yeah, I
you
think,
know,
yeah, it's important. Another question really quick. I think also for you, having a son, having Ryan soon here, you probably, as much as you're Italian, you're going to speak Italian at home. You probably also in America, especially you live on the East Coast now. On the West Coast, it doesn't really exist as much, but on the East Coast, there's more of this Italian American subculture that's kind of like a different thing. But I think you really probably want your son to also be able to have the real Italian culture.
oh, yeah.
And to have him experience that instead of having like this, and like maybe it's different. I think when you're in Italy versus like when you hear about it here, people of Italian or descent is different than actually being around in the culture. Yeah.
Oh my God, yes, that's something that's a must. Like, you know, that was the first thing we talk about, you know, me and my husband. I was like, if we want to have kids, so like I'm telling you, my kid's gonna be bilingual and they're gonna grow up, you know, of course, if we live in America the first time they're gonna be born, they're gonna know, of course, American culture. Their dad, you know, like his dad, you know, we still have we're gonna have one for now. Let's see in the future, but his dad is American, and my husband doesn't speak Italian, so my husband is gonna speak English to him, and with me, he's gonna speak just Italian. Like mom is gonna be Italian. That's it. My mom is from Italy, you know, like talking like as a Ryan. And I just speak Italian to her. If I want to talk to her, Italian. And my son is gonna grow up knowing the Italian culture. Like that's a must for me. Like I'm really proud to be Italian. I always gonna be. For me, my culture is really important, and I think there's so many things that they cannot teach you in America compared to what they teach you in Italy. And I think those, you know, it's really important that he knows, you know, like I want him, yes, I want him to go to Italy, summertime, spend time with the grandparents, speak Italian, being surrounded by Italians, the Italian culture. For me, it's like really, really important. You know, like I don't want my kid to, first of all, I'm not gonna be the one that living in America is gonna lose their, you know, the language. Like there's so many people, like I met so many Italians that they were actually from Italy, and you know, they moved to America because they married someone, and it's insane to me. Like they don't speak Italian anymore. They don't know how to speak Italian anymore. They've been living in America for like 20, 30 years.
I want their kids. Sorry.
No, they, even like them, like they don't know how to speak Italian anymore.
Yeah, you have to keep up on it. I mean, I'm
never gonna lose my Italian. I'm never gonna lose my culture.
You want your son to like have that translated to him and have him to appreciate it.
Oh my God, yes. I think that's like the big giving him, you know, like for the rest of his life.
From my perspective, who I have Italian origins on my mom's side, but she doesn't speak Italian anymore. So I'm the only person in my family that speaks Italian now. But learning it not till I was 20, 21 years old and studying it these last years, because I learned it at that age, I have to continuously do lessons and keep up on it and study it. Whereas if you can give him that gift, he may not appreciate it when he's young, but as he gets older, that opportunity to expand his world and his mind, because at first people thought I learned Italian because I just love Italy, but it taught me to also be more open-minded to other cultures, learn about the world. I'm able to now study and learn like Spanish and other languages, because the Latin languages are so important around the world. And so I think it completely changes your, as a person before, I can look back on my experience only speaking English, and I was a different person. And so Ryan will be now a more cultured, well-rounded, open-minded person just by virtue of him understanding more languages.
Yes. No, I'm not gonna even discuss it. Like my husband knows it.
Yeah.
My son is gonna speak Italian to me. If he's trying to speak English to me, I'm gonna be like, I have no idea what you're saying. Like I'm not. Also because, you know, like I feel bad for my parents. You know, that they're gonna be his grandparents. My parents don't speak English, and you know, it's a big. Of course, it's a big deal for all the grandparents. You know, having like a niece, a nephew, whatever. But I think, you know, like giving this gift to my son, it's a gift to my parents, because my parents, you know, it's already a struggle for them not knowing how to communicate with my husband.
For sure. They want to
That's
feel
really
like
hard. It's hard because my parents would love to talk more with my husband, but if I'm not there doing, you know, translations and things, like it's hard. My parents speak a little bit of English. My husband doesn't speak Italian at all. So it's hard. It's hard. No, at least they want, it's already like a big deal that, you know, I left Italy. I live here now. I'm having a son in America. I'm far away from them, you know, like connecting to how we are, that strong bond with your parents. And my parents are like, oh my God, my only daughter, she left Italy.
Exactly. And now she's having
She lives on the other side of the world. It's like, we are so sad. Like, you know, like for them, it was a big deal. It was hard. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it was hard for me. It was hard for them. You know, like, it was hard. But that's, you know, that's the minimum I can do. You know, like I want them to have their, you know, grandson to speak it so they can speak to him.
Yeah. And also for you, take some pressure off you. You don't have to do translation anymore. You can make him.
Oh yeah.
You say you have to translate for your dad now, not me.
I know, right? It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Exactly. No, I think that's awesome. It's a for your family, and it'll be important for them, because obviously, like, you know, it shouldn't, you know, it's always the thing. I think with going into this next thing, I think we can go into with dating, is that sometimes dating people from different cultures can be a really cool thing, because you're never bored, because it's interesting, but at the same time, it's can be difficult in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, we both like we both of us, like, of course, I dated a lot of Italian guys when I was living in Italy. I never, honestly, I never had that, like interest in dating someone foreign. I got it when like I was doing my experience in America, but uh I never had the thing of like, oh yeah, I want to be an au pair or want to do the exchange student. I want to meet like an American guy and I want to live in America. No, that was not my plan.
It was never your plan?
No, like I just met my husband and we fell in love, and the rest is history. But I never, ever, ever thought something like that. Like, it was fun because when I decided to be an au pair and do this experience, I remember my brother before I was leaving. It was 2019, and my brother was like, "We know how it's gonna end up. You're gonna meet like a blonde, blue eyes American guy, and you're gonna live in America for the rest of your life." And I was like, "No, I'm gonna come back. I love Rome. I love Italy."
Già sapeva tutto. He knew everything. He was always.
And here I am. Like, life is unpredictable. We know that, but um it was kind of like weird for me, because of course you have that I was curious, like when I was an au pair, I was young, I was single, and I was like, I'm just gonna go and I'm just gonna try to hang out with Americans,
For sure.
even if it was not like a romantic date. Most of it was like practicing my English and knowing. I wanted to know their culture, how the difference between, how different is between dating someone Italian and dating someone American. But you too, because you dated a lot of Italians, and someone, like you told me, it's like some some like South American girls. I don't know.
Yeah, usually I date foreign girls.
Yeah, you date foreigners.
I
So
dated that many American girls,
you
unfortunately.
know better than me. So what's the difference between American girls and Italian girls?
All three. They're all three different. Let's say. I think that my experience. We could say. Yeah, I mean, Southern Europe, because let's say European girls, mostly Southern European girls, because I have a very specific type. So usually it'd be like Southern European girls, or Latin American girls, and then American girls. Only one I've dated before.
Really?
So other than that, it's all Latin American girls and Southern
That's
Europe.
one in
Just
your
one.
entire life? That's
Just my entire
okay.
life.
I didn't know that. That's gossip.
I love. It's not that like a weird fetish. It's just more like I love learning. I like expanding my mind. I like pushing myself to, especially as I started learning other languages, it made it much more enjoyable and fun to be able to share that with somebody, and and it's also like a bit of like, okay, now I can practice. It's like a excuse to practice, and so not to use them, but like we can help each other. So it's a good excuse for language exchange, and yeah, it's just it's more fun for me. So because I like to learn about, I love to cook too, learn different recipes, learn about people's culture, and it's more interesting. Obviously, if that would be turned to a long-term relationship, I think that's always been imperative for me too, is like the partners I've been with, usually then if they're foreign, speak Italian or Spanish. And it's important for me. Like I don't speak Spanish like I speak Italian. But it's still important for me to understand the language and speak some of their language, because I think it's, as much as if you guys both can speak one language together, if you speak their language, I think there's a bit of a barrier that opens up and a respect factor.
Yes.
And I think also it makes the transition easier with the family, like you were alluding to. It doesn't mean it's vital to make something work. Obviously, it worked for you guys, but I think as long as someone makes an effort and you can understand each other's languages a bit, it makes a difference.
I mean, it worked for us because I speak English.
Very well, yeah.
So that's how we worked out, because if I was not speaking English, I don't know how people can do that.
Some people
I have no idea.
I think that's the one big difference we'll say with foreign girls. If you meet a girl in the United States, let's say, or an English-speaking country, Italian girls usually, if you're from a country out that's not Spanish speaking, usually people will have to speak English. But with girls that speak Spanish, there's a lot of Spanish speakers in the United States. So sometimes,
oh my God, yes, a lot.
they don't always, not everybody always is like as quick to learn English, let's say. But
I agree.
Makes you have to work harder. Okay, so no, I think we covered a lot of topics today. It was a pleasure to have you on today, Ilaria, my dear friend.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure.
Grazie.
Di niente.
It was fun. I enjoyed it.
It's too much. It's always a fun, interesting, crazy topics.
It is.
Exactly. So where can people find you, Ilaria? Yaya Rondi.
So you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Yaya Rondi,
YouTube?
IARONDI.
Okay.
And you can find my YouTube page with, like my podcast episodes, and most of the time are in Italian, but there's subtitles. So if you guys are interested, you can go check it out. And you can find me with the name Keeping Up with Yaya Rondi.
Yep, that's what I'm talking about.
And yeah, if you guys like interested, like you can just check it out. And
amazing. Yeah. I think that not just for, obviously she has a big Italian audience, but Ilaria is probably the best resource I know for as well American Girl. I work with educational programs that bring students to Italy from America, and anybody that's visiting Italy, doing a honeymoon in Italy, traveling to Italy, wanting to live in Italy as an American or a foreigner. Ilaria has one of the best perspectives of anybody I know to give you any good advice. So please go follow her pages. And I don't know if there's some balloons.
Oh my God, what?
It's not her birthday yet, but anyway,
okay.
she has great
resources. Of course, Grayson as well.
Yes.
Grayson is it's a good source. So if you guys need, like a guide, or I understand, like you want to hear the American perspective.
100%.
Because I can speak English, but Grayson is American. So as an American going to Italy, they probably want to know, those things that Italians can really, like explain,
100%. We just want to help add value and promote la bella cultura italiana.
Yes,
of course. The beautiful Italian culture everywhere. So thank you again.
We love Americans. Americans are always welcome to Italy.
Yes. Okay.
You guys are always welcome.
Perfect. Grazie ancora di tutto, Ilaria.
Grazie a te.
Ok.
Ciao a tutti.
Ciao.